Travis Wingate, so I'm just here talking with you. Mormons are hasty judges, as evidenced by those who rush to my videos to put a thumbs down. They don't want to listen to me. They don't want to know who I am. They don't want to respect their elders. This younger generation of Mormons is scary. They do not know what to love is. It's the only commandment there is, and they aren't doing it, obviously. The other day, someone had reached out to me on my email. They are not identifying how they came to know of me and the source from which they obtained my email. It's not too hard if you know how to use Google search. But he had linked me to a book online in PDF form. I downloaded it because of the factual information that was in it. It's part of the hasty judgment that Mormons make. They assume that I'm anti-Mormon. And that's designed specifically so that they can be justified in doing what they do to me. And of course, that's not love. But it was about Joseph Smith. And it was in favor of Joseph Smith. It was faith promoting. But I looked over a few key places. This is how I know how to quickly make a judgment that is righteous. Because righteous judgment involves knowledge on the subject matter, not information, having memorized scriptures or church history details, actual knowledge. You know, it's one thing to read in the scriptures about the definition of faith. It's another to have actually implemented it in your life and see the fruits that are good and true. Big difference from sitting in class memorizing for your teacher on the tests and actually getting out there into the workforce and implementing what you were taught in class. Big difference. And so what I was able to use as my key to test was Joseph Smith Sr. and the information that this book, whether this guy was the author of it or not, he never would say. He's purposely hiding his identity from me. And the information about Joseph Smith Sr. was missing. The guy was detailed in facts. It's an 800-page book, which is impressive in and of itself. As referenced, very detailed, very impressive, but missing the factual details about Joseph Smith Sr. And then when he talked, or the author talked about the incidents where Joseph Smith Sr. had dreams of the Tree of Life. He put in from a book, it could have been Lucy Mack's journal, about the parents' response to reading the Book of Mormon and reading over the Tree of Life, of which they both recognized how wild it was that the Book of Mormon covered in a great detail about Joseph Smith Sr.'s dreams on the Tree of Life. I found that amusing, because if you hadn't watched the video I did the other day about Joseph Smith Sr. specifically as a Jewish mystic and a Yorkites Freemason, Master Mason he became, you'll see the difference real facts make on identifying the truth and making a correct judgment. And so I politely responded, because I was asked for my thoughts on the book. So I told him I was being honest. I hope it's received as honest. And his reply, again still cryptic, making sure I don't know his identity, because even as the name for the web, or his email, there's some things that make me go, I think this is a fake name. But he then asked something about how deep am I into mysticism with Hebrew. And so I again had to reply and say, it sounds like you're defining mysticism in the modern context, with the modern definition. Mysticism as understood is not mystical, it's simply a coded communication, as Paleo-Hebrew went extinct. And so in 600 AD, CE, that's when Alphabet Ben Sira was written, to try to restore and bring back the knowledge of Paleo-Hebrew. And in so doing, they created a coded communication within it. And it's in the Book of Mormon. Well, yeah, it's in the Book of Mormon. Do I explain it to you? If Joseph Smith Sr. had to rewrite the 116 pages because Junior gave it up to Martin Harris. So yeah, that's why it's in there. Let's see if I can find it from the code words. In Jacob, of all places. Yeah, it's in here. In Jacob chapter 4, verse 14, because Jacob at 7, I think it is, the end, it has the mystic tie connection, brethren, adieu. If you notice, I said brethren, adieu. I didn't say adieu. Mormon apologists focus on adieu and try to justify and explain the use of the word adieu in the Book of Mormon. As ex-Mormons are like, adieu? Why is adieu in there? Both of you are wrong. You're going off the wrong trail. You're making false judgments. It has to do with the next thing I had found that I'm going to tell you about. Verse 14, but behold, the Jews were a stiff-necked people, and they despised the words of plainness, and killed the prophets, and sought for things they could not understand. So this is where he's talking about Jewish mysticism and the creation of it to try to figure out Paleo-Hebrew that had gone extinct. Wherefore, because of their blindness, which blindness came by looking beyond the mark, they must needs fall, for God hath taken away his plainness from them. Hebrew went extinct, and delivered unto them many things which they cannot understand, because they desired it. Well, that's very tempting. 666. Who is the beast? The Antichrist. Who's coming? You know, everybody wants to rearrange people's names so that it totals up the number 666. Oh, it's Obama. Oh, it's Bush. It's Trump. It's Biden. It's Osama bin Laden. You all know about this. This is what it's talking about. And because they desired it, God hath done it, that they may stumble. They're going in the wrong direction, looking beyond the mark, as I went over with you in that video. And so here's the one dealing with the other video that I did about the capstone. And now I, Jacob, am led on by the spirit of prophesying. And so he uses, hilarious, for I perceive by the workings of the Spirit which is in me, that by the stumbling of the Jews they will reject the stone upon which they might build and have a safe foundation. The stone shall become the great and the last, and the only sure foundation upon which the Jews can build. It's not the Jews. Hilarious. See, once you know the code from Jewish mysticism and the York Rites Freemasonry, the Book of Mormon creates a whole new view for you. You see, he's talking about the Smiths and the organization of the church, and how Mormons are going to fall into that same type of trap that the Jews trying to resurrect Paleo-Hebrew did with Jewish mysticism. I'm talking about the fulfillment of scriptures, because Mormons rejected Joseph Smith. But because of Mormons' inability to judge righteously, I'm concerned I'm going to witness the entire destruction of my people rather than see Zion in my day. And thus no capstone. And so the part that deals with brethren ado is something that I had found online back in 2017, I think. It could have been 2018 as well. I was trying to find information about William Morgan, and happened to stumble across the website. I can't find it since. And the guy who did the site even said that he doesn't know how long it'll be up. And he's not talking about the church, but he references Joseph Smith Sr. And he claimed that he was a descendant of William Morgan through his second wife. And he wasn't polygamist, But he claims that William Morgan passed down the information through his family. And so it was passed down to him through his parents and grandparents and such. And that's how he found out about the story. And he wasn't sure. The DNA, he claimed, was inconclusive, but that's what he had been told. And so it was an interesting read to hear what his family, as he claims, had told him about what happened to William Morgan. And if you have not watched my videos on the subject matter, William Morgan was writing his books at the lodge of Joseph Smith in Canandaigua, New York. And this was before I knew about the connection of Joseph Smith to Jewish mysticism and York rites with the Knights Templar. Because I was still in the early stages of researching church history. And so it didn't seem threatening to the church. He never seemed to say that the church was the enemy. Very faith-promoting for the church. It was specifically about William Morgan, his ancestor, as he was told. And so learning about that gave me some things to look for when doing research on Joseph Smith Sr. And I found them, obviously. But it's different than this book that was emailed a link to me. Because the book, though utilized a lot of factual information, left out factual information, which was crucial in understanding the real history of the church. You can't just say, well, you know, that's not faith promoting, I'm not putting it in. I'm going to tell this story about a church historical character. You're lying when you do that. You are covering up church history. You've got to put in all the factual details. And when you do reports for school, you have to put in all the factual details and let those facts determine the report. Because if you go in saying, I don't care what I find, Joseph Smith's going to be the good guy. Which, yes, he is. But if you go in with that bias, when you find out about him being arrested for a glass looker on the 20th of March, 1826, you're going to say, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this. I don't think I should put this in. I'm going to purposely leave it out. I don't know if the book did this. I only looked for Joseph Smith Sr. to do a quick check because it's closer to the beginning. But that's the manner in which this book was written. It purposely left out the details about Joseph Smith learning Jewish mysticism and his experience with code in the Knights Templar with York Rites Freemasonry. So that it made it seem like the Smiths, Lucy and Joseph Sr., were completely left out of the production of the book. when the facts are very clear. William Morgan was working with Joseph Smith Sr. on the books. And I say books because there's more information that was originally presented to me by this descendant. He goes into the Lewis and Clark expedition with the Mandan Indian tribe, which I have been able to confirm by finding out more facts about that tribe and about the connection with the Knights Templar in 1363 with the Kensington Stone. And so as an old man, I can see how knowing all the facts, putting them all into the equation of the narrative you're trying to search for, makes all the difference in the world. The canon that we have is incomplete. It only tells us a little bit, and the church has told us the interpretation we're supposed to have of that, the conclusion from the partial bits of facts of church history. And they even lie to us and alter those facts. James Huntsman, for example, left the church because the church finally confessed that Joseph Smith looked at a rock in a hat. A rock in a hat. Not rocks in a hat, like Urim and Thummim, you are saying? Yeah, because the church is desperately trying to distract us from the truth. So they allowed the rock in a hat because historians had confirmed, yes, Joseph did indeed have a rock in a hat. He had other rocks too. But the church, notice, is not changing church history in our canon. This is not correct history. But as Mormons go to seminary, church, institute, mission, they spread the class information that is incomplete and incorrect. It's a fact. It's not something to hastily judge me and condemn me for. But Mormons are going to do it. And I've tried to get it across. Mormons have nothing to fear by the truth of the Smiths. But I guess they're not believing me. They want to live in fear because of what it means for Brigham Young. And I guess that's where their fear comes from, is that they do not know the consequences that will come from realizing they're in the wrong church. That Brigham Young was not authorized and completely changed it and have set forth lies that affect us to this day. And that Mormons have no interest in learning the truth because of the shame of being in the wrong church. That they don't want the shame that comes from the world about how Mormons have been duped, how Mormons have been gaslit to the point where they're murderers now. That's how bad it's gotten. Mormons have been so deceived that they are murdering people with the virus, not just with the Daybell and Vallow woman. I noticed they're calling her Daybell too, because they did get married, but I'll put an asterisk there. Getting married to have your name changed by murder of your previous husband doesn't quite qualify as a legitimate marriage. disturbs me that Idaho has the practice of calling somebody mentally ill to justify denying them a due process in the law, in the courts. She needs the death penalty like Chad does. And this psycho who's evaluating her is purposely preventing her from getting justice so that others can get justice for what she did. And that's another story that I have been talking about in other videos. And so, yes, when I did my video yesterday, and I noticed that they purposely selected the video or the frame picture where I'm going, hey, and that'll probably be the one for this video. And it's most likely too late because I've gone on too long. The Mormons, who are false, hasty judges, have already left. They don't want to hear what I have to say. They're the rising generation, and they know better. So I wanted to live in Zion. I did not want to have to suffer. I wanted a wife with children. And yet I'm not going to get any of that. I'm not going to have the restoration of Joseph's attempt to restore the kingdom of David, the religion of the Egyptians. Because Mormons won't allow it. Mormons are the ones who denied me my family. Mormons are the ones who've destroyed my life. Mormons are the ones trying to murder me. Orders of the leadership of the church, because of the information I learned that they want kept hidden. Paleo-Hebrew. Who knew? I thought I was helping to build the kingdom of God, doing my part. And so these haters of me do not understand. I don't hate them. I'm trying to break down their walls of hate so that they can come to knowledge. And they refuse. They won't let me in. YouTube won't let me in again to let me try to break down their walls, because YouTube's under orders of the church. They have Mormons in place everywhere, protecting the church at all cost. And Mormons purposely leave that part out of the equation so that they live in denial. And I can see why. I've been watching 24 lately. I started up on that. And it's the first season where, is it Terry? Is that her name? The wife of Jack Bauer? She has been traumatized. She's been kidnapped. She's been freed. She's been raped. She's gone to the hospital. She's now found out she's pregnant. And so now the safe house was invaded and she got away, but the car rolled off the cliff and exploded, and she thinks her daughter is dead in the explosion. And so she collapsed and now has disassociative amnesia. I see Mormons being so traumatized in their life about how the prophets have been lying to us, and they keep lying to us. They keep telling us we're Christian when we're more Jewish, technically Israelite, Egyptian, and this trauma with the financial problems people are having, and the natural disasters, and Trump, and the virus is too much for Mormons to mentally process, and so they're mentally protecting themselves by lashing out at guys like me because they can't handle the truth mentally. They're disassociating themselves from reality, and that's turning them into murderers. They've broken. They've been broken, and now they're being used as Manchurian candidates. That again goes back to the psychos and how they've planned all this. As I told you, Governor Cox was in conspiracy with the head of the University of Utah's psycho department, purposely planning from the beginning of this year to cause the spread and escalation of Delta. And maybe you guys aren't familiar with being tortured and held hostage and have death threats on you like I have, so that you guys are in shock and are in denial, whereas I'm like, yeah, it's just like second nature to me. Yeah, this is the way life is for me. This is how it is. I think there was a Die Hard movie. Yeah, it was. It was the one with the computer hacker geek guy with the fire sale. That movie sequel. He was like, "Have you been shot at before? Is this? How are you not?" Hilarious. But yeah, I do feel like Bruce Willis, and Mormons seem to be like that little hacker kid. But I will not be putting thumbnails, I will not be putting hymns. I'm just talking with you now. So, I gotta go running. I'll do this video when I get back.